our mission is simple. It's to provide the best, highest quality education. And in my view, diversity inherently enriches the educational experience. We learn from those whose beliefs, training, perspectives are different from ours. Diversity challenges our preconceptions, stereotypes we might have. It also encourages very critical thinking and helps us to communicate effectively with people with varied backgrounds, different from our own. And then in the context of our research mission, diversity also fosters new perspectives, new approaches, but I would say in BME, it's especially important because we are the ones who are driving and guiding and structuring healthcare of the future. And so we have a unique opportunity to work to reduce ongoing health disparities. And then as we go outside of our walls and we go into the community, education in a diverse setting, I think promotes good citizenship. It promotes mutual respect, teamwork, and that's how we strengthen our communities and our workplaces that we move into. So for me, these are just a few of the many benefits of diversity and bringing diversity into our community. But it can't be sustained without ongoing efforts to promote equity for and inclusion of all of our members. So today you're going to hear many different ways that you and we together can promote the D, the E, and the I. And I want you to know that I have been and continue to be committed to promoting D&I in our department. And I always say our, because that's what I consider it, our community, our department, and together we direct and help it grow and advance it. So today I invite you also to consider how you can bring your own unique characteristics and talents to be channeled into what I hope is becomes or already is for so many of you, a conscious effort to advance this mission. So with that, I didn't put a resource, but I put a quote on my slide, which is that all along we've been trying to change people when we really need to change policies. That's a quote I've been trying to keep in front of mind because I find myself in a position where policy change is something that can be done. It can be done together, but I think that's one of the things I'm striving for in the months and years to come. So with that, I'd love to pass it back to you, Gabby, to tell us a little bit more about the strategic plan we have growing.
Thank you. As DEI coordinator, I spent the majority of my first several months here drafting and developing a plan for the department. This plan contains 5 pillars, as you can see here: recruitment, retention, advancement, health equity, and community engagement. And like Brenda said, these pillars affect our community, our science, and the community outside of our walls. These pillars were shaped by priorities of the BME community, both staff, faculty, and students, goals laid out by President Gable's Impact 2025, and higher education DEI principles at large. Each pillar contains several goals relating to undergraduate students, graduate students, staff, faculty, and more. Goals were created by assessing where we want to be as a department, what we want our department to look like, and identifying the gaps between those ideals and our current state. This involved creating an intentional timeline and series of events to bring us toward those goals. In order to reach those goals, we all have a role to play. I urge you to ask yourself, what can I do in my role to help move the department forward? In the near future, the community will have the opportunity to look closer at the plan. Until then, our meeting today is partially organized by these 5 pillars. We'll start with the first one, recruitments, shared by Laura Essig.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Laura Essig. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the undergraduate program coordinator for the department. My favorite anti-racism resource is a book that I'm currently reading. It's called The Color of Law, which discusses how local, state, and federal government have implemented and continue to reinforce racial segregation policies in the United States. And as Gabby said, I have the pleasure of presenting on behalf of those who worked on different recruitment initiatives. So something we're proud of is this summer, we will be welcoming 2 to 3 students from Morgan State University, which is a historically Black college in Baltimore, Maryland, to participate in a research program, and applications are currently open for that program. We also hope to host a high school internship program from up to 4 students from 2 different high schools in the Twin Cities, so Washington Tech and Heritage STEM. And something that we're working towards, we're working on a few things. One of them, building relationships with the local and regional communities. So as just discussed, we are currently working on that, but it can also help us expose students who might not have been interested or known about biomedical engineering, and it can help us recruit those students who are working on figuring out what their post-secondary education plans are, and help them to consider the University of Minnesota, specifically the biomedical engineering department. We are also working towards more inclusive and equitable admission processes, both at the graduate and undergraduate level. So at the undergraduate level, we're a little more constrained. The admission process is set by the college, and it's based on a student's tech GPA. But one thing that we can do is we can suggest that a student write advocacy letters on their behalf, which is just a way for a student to explain maybe a circumstance that we can't see on the transcript, or really just to get to know the student more, and take that into consideration when admitting students. At the graduate level, I know that this year during the application process, they created a rubric to score graduate program application that values diversity and really limits the introduction of interview bias into that process. Also, we had Huzefa, who you'll hear from later today, who presented the idea of implementing a toolbox of resources on the BME DEI website that can be useful and used by prospective students who are submitting application materials. So the idea would be to help level the playing field for those students who may be coming from universities or communities or families that don't necessarily have those resources. So an example could be, resources on how to write personal statements for the graduate application. This is in the early stages, but I know that it is something that they are hoping to implement next year. And a challenge to the community. We hope that the community continues to volunteer, and we hope that more will volunteer. As we try to expand our reach to the different communities, we would like to have as many faculty, staff, and students involved, not only to help with the events, but to continue to intertwine the work that we are doing with DEI into the department and the communities that we work with. So now I will hand it over to Jay to discuss what the department has been doing in the area of retention and inclusion.
Hi everyone, I'm Jay. I'm a postdoc in Odie's lab. My faculty anti-racism resources, our DEI website. So far in the past year, our alliance membership has steadily increased. We're working toward to increasing our membership among faculty and undergraduate students, and we have some success. And a new website inclusion of the alliance bulletin and other methods, and also like word of mouth, has been proven useful. But we still try to attract more membership in our alliance. Also, the BME DEI calendar has been instrumental in sharing events among the departments. So the DEI calendar is on the DEI website, and you are able to add the calendar to your own to be able to see all the events among the DEI category. So there are some few things we're working toward, we want to better engage all members in the BME department, including undergraduate and faculty members, as well as alumni. So we hope to create regular opportunities for community to build in. And this month is the Black History Month, and we hope to have some fun events in the next week to celebrate. And we also, in the next month will be the Women's History Month. we also will do the same. So so in the past several months, we are setting our goals and structures, and we are looking forward to having real practice in developing our community. Lastly, as a challenge to the BME department, BME community, I challenge you all try to attend one of the DEI events, and to have friends and your anyone you know to go with you. And here we can increase our sense of community. We also like to challenge you to participate and offer your suggestions in the future events in the department. So I want to pass to Renee to share the next goal. Thank you.
Thanks, Jay. Hi, I'm Renee. I am a PhD candidate in the department, and I'm here to talk about the work of the advancement group. So not only do we want to recruit people to the department, we want to make sure that they have success while they're here and after they graduate or move on. And so something that we are proud of that we have done so far is we have developed an exit survey to collect data from graduate students, particularly focusing on their kind of next step in their career. There are well-documented disparities, particularly as it comes to pay as you kind of advance throughout your career. And so what we wanted to do is create this collection of data to know what our students are asking for when they're leaving, what they are making kind of as their starting salary, and making this information available to students. So as they begin their career search or are negotiating salaries, that they have a benchmark for what their peers are receiving and asking for. This is not something that is currently available for graduate students. There is kind of a larger survey for undergraduates. So this was kind of our first area of focus. Something that we are working towards is engagement with our alumni. So leveraging those connections via social media, where we have different LinkedIn connections and different groups, working with different groups like GWBME to leverage our alumni connections, and hopefully in the future utilize these for future in-person events. And as our challenge to the community, depending on where you are, you might have different connections. So for PIs, you have all of your alumni who you could potentially invite to lab meetings to connect with your current students. They might know of internships, career openings. They have been there and can be mentors to your current students. And that's a really great resource as well for when the department is asking them to get involved. You've already kind of got a foot in the door there. For graduate students, we often serve as mentors for undergraduates. And this is also a time when you can ask them about what their career plans are. Are they planning to continue on in school, and really building these strong relationships? Undergraduates, there's always someone coming up behind you who you can kind of pass along your wisdom. So our challenge to the community is to build these mentoring connections. And I will pass it on to Lizzie.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lizzie, and I am in David Wood's lab. I'm a PhD candidate in my 5th year, I think. So I am working on the health equity sort of subcommittee along with Katie Cummins and Riley Manning. It's sort of just the 3 of us now. So if you are not involved in any of the other subcommittees, please feel free to join our group. We would love more people. So something that we are proud of, though, so we don't have officially anything that we've completed yet, but we have a lot of things in the process and in a pipeline. One of those is to develop a strategy to actually incorporate health equity concepts into courses at both the undergraduate and graduate level. And so that might look like when an instructor is talking about a disease such as cancer, highlighting the health disparities that exist for that disease. And I think it's just important to get the students to start understanding that this exists as we are going through the curriculum. The other thing that we were hoping to coordinate maybe this spring or this coming fall would be inviting a speaker to actually talk about health disparities in cancer. We've identified a graduate student who does this exact research at a different university. And so it'd be great to host them and have them speak about what they've been finding. And so we'd like to continue sort of adding that to the ongoing seminars that we have for our department. Another thing that we're working toward would be actually highlighting the current DEI research efforts that are ongoing in our department. There are researchers, such as in our lab, we have a group that is studying sickle cell disease, which disproportionately affects Black African Americans. And so if we are able to highlight that, maybe even on our website, I think it'd be a good way to sort of encourage ongoing research in those areas. We'd also like to work with the existing institutes, something like the IEM or the PSAC, and identify new ways to fund junior or early investigator level research into health disparities. Maybe you are collaborating as graduate students from different labs on a side project that allows you to go more in depth into the health disparity of your research. And our challenge to the community, for researchers everywhere, we are all doing biomedical research. And so we really do need to think about who is benefiting from our research, what types of cells and patient samples are we using in our research, and are they representative of all the patient populations? For educators, it is obviously Black History Month, and so it would be awesome to just incorporate a quick mini intro discussion at the beginning of your course, maybe once this month, to talk about an incredible contribution from a Black scientist or something like that that relates to the class, but begins to introduce this health equity and disparity into your curriculum. And then everyone, we all, will eventually face some sort of ailment, whether it's COVID or something else. And so just reflecting on your own access to healthcare, and are you able to get the healthcare that you need? And are you able to identify any privileges that you might have, so you can become aware and start building sort of a competency for yourself about your advantages or disadvantages based on your identities. And so with that, I'll pass it off to Matt to talk about community engagement.
Thank you, Lizzie. I'm Matt. I'm one of the graduate student coordinators within the department. I'm also a PhD candidate in Dr. Aaron Ellingson's lab. One of my favorite anti-racism resources is just reading either speeches or works by previous prominent figures that have come before us, because they've likely gone through similar circumstances or even worse than we have, and it's good to know their insight. I'm speaking on behalf of the community engagement portion of the DEI. And something that we're proud of, as Gabby alluded to earlier, is we've been working on an outreach plan as part of our strategic plan to better involve both our community members and the greater community of the Twin Cities, to better showcase what BME is all about and try to recruit people to go down this path in the future. Additionally, we've created a mural within NILS to celebrate Native American Heritage Month. So we challenged all people in the department to think about how they were able to benefit by working on this land, and how they were able to contribute to science and what they've gained from it, and pledge a way that they can contribute back and give back to the opportunity that they were given. Some things that we're working towards going forward is we have an event this Friday at the Heritage STEM Academy to celebrate BME Day. At this event, we have a bunch of volunteers going where we will talk about BME and show different aspects, whether it's neuro, whether it's biomechanics or tissue engineering, just to give them a taste of what BME is all about. We're also going to include a panel, so they would be able to ask any questions that they might have, and also showcase some experiments to give them sort of a taste of what a future in BME could be like. Additionally, we want to continue doing this to other schools and other communities, just to sort of broaden our reach on the type of students that we might recruit for BME. And then lastly, we want summer research engagement where we can have more tangible interactions with some of these students, and they might be able to contribute to research hands-on within labs. A challenge to the community is just continue volunteering. There's a Core Saturday Scholars event, and not this Saturday, but next Saturday, and you can gain insightful skills and help out. And lastly, I would challenge you all to try something new within the Twin Cities, whether that's just going to a different type of restaurant that you may have never been before, going to a different celebration, just to broaden your horizons on different things that are offered. And with that, I'll pass it off to Dr. Dave Odie.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. And thanks, everybody. Yeah, I'm Dave Odie, professor in the department and part of our BME Department Alliance, but also a member of the College of Science and Engineering Diversity and Inclusivity Alliance. And there's a faculty and staff action group that I'm a co-lead on. My favorite anti-racism resource is a book I'm reading right now called My Grandmother's Hands by a local author, Resma Menachem. And this book really, I think, resonates with me because it talks about the embodied aspects of racism and how this becomes physically impacting our bodies and how we need to process that in a healthy way, in a clean way, in order to get to a better place. And this applies to people of all races. But the program or the approach is different depending on one's own identity. Within the CSE Alliance, some things that we're proud of is President's Postdoctoral Fellowship Program. This is meant to recruit postdoctoral scholars who could ideally transition into faculty positions here at the University of Minnesota, or at least to help them on their journey towards a tenure track faculty position. And this has been supported by the CSE Dean. We're in the second year now. We have a cohort of 3. We'll hope to recruit another cohort of 3 for a total of 6 at steady state. And currently we don't have any in the BME department, but other departments in our college are hosting these scholars. So that's one program that I'm part of. It also provides mentoring and guidance from faculty beyond the immediate project that they're working on. Second thing is that the Alliance completed an anti-racism survey, and that report's available at the link below. And I think this is an intentional focus on marginalized identities based on race within our college. And it has enough respondents of people of color within our college that I think it gives us a good sample actually of what's happening in our STEM fields within the University of Minnesota. And so I'd encourage you to look at that report and reflect on it. And within that, implicit bias and microaggressions rose to a high level of being of greatest concern amongst BIPOC members of our community. And a third thing is D&I moments. It's just an opportunity to introduce something that you may have learned or a resource that's available at the beginning of a class or the beginning of a meeting. Just takes 1 minute or 2 and kind of just sets the tone of like that this is important and we can all learn. Things that we're working towards, we've had a strategic plan for about 3 years now, and it's been a really useful guide, and I'm glad that Gabby's leading our department in a strategic plan, but the College Alliance has had a strategic plan with a new dean coming on board, Dean Andrew Lean. It's kind of a new era, and it's an opportunity to revisit what our plan should be. And so we'll be undertaking this summer a revisiting of that strategic plan and how we might deploy ourselves most effectively. And that creates a challenge too, as there's an opportunity to get involved in that, become a member of the College D&I Alliance, and links also in this slide here. So if you want to learn more about that, happy to chat with you about that. And so thank you for the time, and I'll be handing it off to Siobhans. Siobhans.
Thank you, Dr. Odie. Hi, everyone. My name is Siobhans. I'm currently a senior in the undergraduate biomedical engineering program, and I also serve as president of the Biomedical Engineering Society. BMES is a department-affiliated student group that strives to provide students with academic, professional, and social programming. We strive to help students reach their professional goals by continuous support and by enhancing connections to the academic, business, and medical communities, with the ultimate motivation of building and supporting the biomedical engineering community here at the university, but also beyond. So we are proud of many of our initiatives, including the creation of a lower division mentorship program. Our ultimate goals are to provide a sense of community within the undergraduate body and encourage inclusivity within the major, as well as to facilitate academic relationships. We are really proud of our efforts with high school outreach, and our current initiatives and events also include celebrating Black History Month. So there is much in store, and we are working towards many initiatives that align with departmental goals. One of these upcoming initiatives includes planning for a BME gala, where students, faculty, and alumni can come together to have a nice time. So finally, my challenge to everyone on this call is to join the BME DEI Alliance. So going on to the next slide. I would also like to take a minute to just give a quick shout out to the BME DEI Advisory Board. So we are a group of individuals that include representation from all training levels in BME. Something that we are proud of is the development of the BME DEI strategic plan, something Gabby has alluded to. It is filled with concrete actions to guide the department towards a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive state. So thank you for your time, and I will now pass it on to Sam Boland, who is the Vice President of BME GS.
Thank you, Siobhans. Hello, everyone. My name is Sam. I am a PhD candidate in Patrick Alford's lab, and I'm the Vice President of the Biomedical Engineering graduate students, also known as BMAGS. The mission of BMAGS is to connect students with tools to support their mental health, to build a sense of community and camaraderie within the department, and to ensure students from all backgrounds can find a home within biomedical engineering. One thing that we are proud of is the continuation of our mental health awareness seminar series. This is a series that we started in spring of 2020 and continued this past fall with a journal club discussion on the negative impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic on the mental health of students. So we discussed an academic paper that found disparities in mental health among individuals from different nationality and different socioeconomic backgrounds. And we also had what was a pretty sometimes raw and emotional discussion about the successes and shortcomings of different research groups within the department towards supporting students during and throughout the COVID pandemic. I think this event was important because it gave students a chance to talk about some challenges that were maybe behind the scenes and that not everyone's seeing, and it was an important chance to talk about the things that we need to do better to better support each other. One thing that we are working towards is an inter-school networking event. It's coming up in about a month that is designed to help biomedical engineering graduate students connect with MBA students in the Carlson School, as well as students in the School of Medicine, School of Pharmacy, School of Public Health, and School of Public Affairs. It's becoming increasingly clear that networking is a very important part of finding employment after graduation, as well as finding potential future collaborations for all of the future PIs here. But it's particularly hard to make these connections when you don't know anyone in your industry, which is especially true for students from underrepresented backgrounds. So really excited to be able to create the opportunity for our students to make these connections now so that they'll have those resources in the future. And lastly, my challenge to the community is for everyone to try their best to engage with the community while they're at work. In the past, community building, a lot of community building here has happened outside of work, but right now it's particularly hard to socialize outside of work because of the pandemic. I think the burden of finding community often falls on those looking for community, but I want to remind everyone that part of building a community requires established members of that community to hold open the door for new members. So my mini challenge to you all is to eat lunch with someone new or somewhere new. So if you are the kind of person who always eats lunch in your office or in a conference room or the 7th floor tables and Nils, maybe try somewhere else for a change, make a new friend, and make sure everyone feels included in our community. Thank you for your time, and I'd like to introduce Huzafa Hussain.
Thanks, Sam. I'm Huzafa Hussain. I'm a second-year PhD student in Dr. Brenda Ogle and Dr. Ferenc Tote's laboratories. I'm also the logistics chair for BMAGS. And I'm a part of the Creative Inclusive Cohorts Fellows. We are a group of students from underrepresented backgrounds who are passionate about leading DEI efforts within our BME department. And I would have to say something that we're really proud of is that on March 18th, we'll be hosting Dr. Evan Scott, who is the head of Northwestern University's BME DEI program, as well as a committee chair for BMES BOLD, which is a nationwide organization trying to push for better diversity, equity, inclusion within our BME community. Some key initiatives that we're working towards is hosting more journal club discussions, which we will have an upcoming journal club this semester focused on the journal article, The Extent and Drivers of Gender Imbalance, and neuroscience reference lists. as well as inviting future guest lecturers for upcoming semesters and developing our identity as an organization. And I would have to say my favorite anti-racism resource is the Code Switch NPR podcast. I highly recommend you all check it out. It's about exploring how race not only affects like politics, but how it's pervasive into pop culture, history, food, and almost everything in between. And I'd like to pass it on to Riley.
Hi, everyone. I'm Riley. I'm a fourth-year PhD student in Dave Odie's lab, and I'm the president of GWBME. So we're a group of BME graduate students who support the advancement of women in STEM, and in general, just want to create a sense of community and belonging for all of the students in our department. We have several different types of events throughout the year, and they're open to any graduate student in the department, not just women. But we have general social events like happy hours, as well as a mentorship program. We have outreach events. We do a lot of volunteering at local elementary schools, doing science experiments with the students there. And we also have several different professional development opportunities for those interested in both industry and academia. So for those interested in industry, we have an annual career panel with alumni from the program. We have networking events, as well as an annual industry visit. And then we also have coffee talks with faculty members in our department to try to get to know the professors a little bit better outside of their research, but also just to hear about their journey to becoming a professor. And then every semester, we also have an extended stay visit where we invite one of the visiting female seminar speakers to come and talk to our group about their journey through academia and any challenges that they've faced. Something that we're proud of from this past year is continuing to explore themes like anti-racism and intersectional feminism in our book club selections. So last year, one of the books that we read was Can We All Be Feminists?, which is a series of essays by several different authors talking about different aspects of intersectional feminism. Our upcoming book club selection is Algorithms of Oppression, How Search Engines Reinforce Racism. And we'll be talking about that sometime next month. If you're not on our email list, feel free to contact me and I will make sure that you get added and get future updates about that. And we also have a few copies of the book that we can lend out for people to read. Something that we're working towards this upcoming year is making sure that our events and programming center queer and BIPOC women. We want to make sure that we're recognizing and celebrating the achievements of all women in STEM. And now I'm going to pass it back to Gabby.
Thank you very much, Riley, and thank you to all of speakers today, not just for taking time today, but every day for your commitment to DEI. I hope everything that was shared in today's meeting has inspired you to get involved. No matter what your role is in our community, you can help us reach our goals. The DEI Alliance hosts meetings every month where we discuss DEI topics, discuss our progress toward our goals, and much more. And I might be biased, but I think the meetings are very fun and a great way to find community. Our next Alliance meeting is this upcoming Monday at 10 a.m. If you aren't able to meet or to make Alliance meetings this semester, I still urge you to join the Alliance mailing list where I send a short email every Monday with university events, interesting readings, or action steps. If you're already in the Alliance, please share the news with your students, lab mates, or classmates. This presentation and the slides will be posted on the DEI website shortly, where you can also find the BME DEI calendar, which has been mentioned several times this meeting already. I keep that up to date with a variety of events. As always, please feel free to contact me with any questions or concerns. Thank you all very much for attending our second annual DEI meeting. We have plenty of time now for questions or discussions, and that part will not be recorded.